and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. And we are here with a strike against our port, defended by a single cruiser, which normally would not be able to stand up to a battleship and 2 destroyers. However, as the battleship only has 12-inch guns, and I will hopefully be going nowhere near it, it should be fine. It should be fine. Let's see if we can sink some destroyers and maybe even torpedo a battleship. Away. So yeah, this is episode 5 of the Japan Eastern Campaign. We are currently in the process of capturing some of Russia's territories. However, in that process, we have unfortunately been revealed in some of our ports where we don't have any ships. Flash fire on the destroyer. That's what I'm talking about. One down. That's what we call a sinking destroyer. 2 destroyers sunk, and a battleship running. Cover our transport so that they can escape. Okay, we're doing some damage. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. Surprised they haven't refitted these with secondary guns on them. But yet again, the AI has never been good at refitting their ships. I'm not too surprised. Yeah, I think that's a stun. I don't know if it's worth getting any closer. The fact that they actually thought they'd be able to attack one of our ports defended by a cruiser with a battleship and 2 destroyers, and it would work. I mean, the absolute nerve. I know any normal thing would be able to, but not against us. fall back in line to defend the convoy, and this battle should be over very quickly. Provided we can end the battle soon. Game, please. Let me finish. Let the kablooey boomy stop and let the strategical development begin, perhaps. Now, one thing I'd really like to get from a peace treaty with Russia would actually be these battleships. Because if I could refit them and slot in some 4-inch casemates or something onto the side of the ship, on these ridiculously armored ships, and give it modern armor, it would make the ship so good. Sure, it wouldn't have the most main guns, but it would be basically complete. It would probably be able to last many eras. It would be quite an asset against any modern fleet. There we go, in battle. 2 destroyers sunk, no cruisers lost, no port damage. Ah, here we are, one of those weird cruisers. The Admiral Makarov of the Novaya Nadezhda class, whatever it's pronounced as. We've got Washiba, Kuma, Notori, and 2 of our destroyers to meet them. They're clearly trying to drag down the tonnage of our invasion, so that we don't successfully invade their territory. However, by doing so, they're going to lose a lot of ships. Now, I am fairly sure that these ships have a lot of secondary guns, which means the destroyers may not be able to do much with their 3 torpedoes. Which, by the way, for this era is actually a surprising amount. From what I can tell, the torpedo boats could have more, but no one's really using them effectively yet. I mean, the Russians certainly haven't. I don't feel the need for unarmored ships. There they are. See, yes, with the addition of that torpedo to its hull, the Admiral Makarov is not exactly doing great. Now, from the rear, it doesn't actually have that many guns. So doesn't let me get out of here. And there we go, those torpedoes did the job. Whammo kablamo, and down goes the Makarov. Should have main guns out, flooding in almost all compartments. 51% crew loss. Torpedoes out, and it sunk. Huzzah! Another cruiser down and another ship knocked off the Russian Navy's tally. Now here we go. We've got the light cruiser Almas and our fleet. I don't think this would be that interesting. It would be just a couple of rounds and it's done, so I'm just going to auto-resolve that. Yep, sunk. No, I'm sorry, Egypt. It looks like our invasions are going to succeed, which is promising. Ooh, that's intimidating, those two cruisers. That too. Let's see if we can pick off one of their battleships with our destroyers. Because they're down to 20 ships. They may be building a chunk, but their GDP is not looking too hot. Mind you, neither's ours. So let's just see what the next turn will bring. Ooh, some interesting meetings, perhaps? Maybe. Perhaps. Oh, of course this is doing this now. Just when I start to record, you're like, no, I'm going to slow this down and build these ships. And, you know, make sure all the ships are perfect. And I've discarded all the old designs. Strike against a port. We'll do that. Damaged port. Here we are. Light cruisers and a battleship versus a heavy cruiser, 2 lights and 2 DDs. The force we saw in the last episode. Have they been rearmed or are they still out of torpedoes? Let's find out. rearmed, it seems. Ow. Detach and retreat. So as an army, stay on course. Launch the last 2 torpedoes and evacuate off the battlefield. Duds, oh well. Okay, now we just need to tear away at these cruisers while this battleship menacingly approaches. Now, torpedoes. That's an interesting idea. Ow. Ooh, yowza. It's an ammo det on the battleship. Torpedoes away. Okay, there we go. This should sink the battleship. If not, we'll come back to it in a sec. Okay, can we sink this fleet? That is the main question. Because if we can sink these small little fleet slash squadrons getting sent after us, we can look at really taking some territory from them and building a much better navy for us for when we face our next opponents. But who will that be? It might be China or it might be Germany. One of the two. Both of which have annoying positions near our borders. There we go, Novix is about to sink. Profits. Soviets can't have profits. That's a form of capitalism. I'm kidding. It's the Russian Empire right now. Though not for long. With the war we're causing, they're probably going to have a revolution. Come on. Sink. Okay, Profintern has 2 engines knocked out. It's basically dead in the water. Can we sink it is the only question. Because we got some compartments flooding, but apart from that... should be able to sink it in a couple of seconds. Come on, sink the ship. Torpedo detonation. Flooding. Come on. You got this. There we go, Profintern sinks. So it's time to go back and destroy the battleship. I think I have a way to sink this battleship. And it's very honourable. Very, very honourable. Of course, you can only sink the enemy by ramming them. Notori, you know your mission. And it's very honourable. Very honourable. Avoid collisions, ramming stations, crew. You've been assigned this very honourable task. Ramming speed. A very honourable end to the enemy battleship. Very honourable. We have honoured the ancestors with that one. Oh my, another major engagement. Well, not as major. A heavy cruiser and a light cruiser and a couple of smaller ships try and take on a cruiser and battleship squadron. Unlikely to go well for them, but it's a chunk of ships that we can knock off. And then reduce the Russian Navy's numbers even more. So they do outnumber us. 2 extra ships, but they're torpedo boats. So we'll pay them no mind. There we go. A very honourable solution. on. Sink the stupid torpedo boat. It looks better on our numbers the more ships we sink. May not be the more victory points, but it looks better on my numbers. Sink the Sphereborg. Sink it, sink it, sink it! Seems that the ships are being knocked up by their respective opposite numbers. And that eventually Mikhail Kutuzov sinks. The Akuma is freed up to help with the destroyers. Minin sinks. Destroyer of Kotnev's flash fires. Come on, sink it. Won't you please just sink it for me? Please, 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 just sink it for me, pretty please. Oh, it's turning, I might want to engage. Okay, here we go. Destroyer versus Destroyer duel. .1s versus 4 inches. It's not worth it. Guns off. Let it run. It will tell the story of what happened here today. And how the Russian Navy is completely outclassed compared to what we bring. Oh dear. That's a ship with secondary guns. Have the Russians finally learned how to build a battleship? No, it seems they brought one of their older ones. How horrible will the armor be? Or will it be another block of concrete? Or it will be as thin as paper. Yeah, that is an old design. Yes. The Russians have put out a museum ship that actually has secondary guns. There goes my plan. Oiter can rejoin the fight. Yeah, no, I think this is a bad idea. This just seems to be their fleet of museum pieces. Bespoinky? Becoinky? Bespo coiny. Bespocoiny. If I'm gonna make this battle a draw, I've got to make sure I sink another ship. Shite out another torpedo. Very honourable act. Come on, second cruiser. Yeah, you got this. Come on. You got this. Come on. Sink it. Sink the cruiser, please. Sadly, I think we're going to stay for this one. We came in with a plan, we came out with nothing except Tachibana, and it's very badly damaged. Well played. To the Russians? Sunk. Beneath the waves it falls. Unfortunately a defeat, but the first defeat in quite a while. Okay, let's send some reinforcements to the invasion fleets. A battleship to each. And in terms of fleet and building, can we put another Koetsu on the line? We can put another Koetsu on the line. Okay, next turn. Couple more meetings. If they're short, we might do them this episode. Strike, free transport sinks. Okay, we'll do this one. Hopefully it won't take too long. here we go, repositioning begins, and the fleet begins to engage. This is low on ammo, my god. Retreat. Cover him. Sink in some torpedo boats. Doing it with us well. Torpedo launched. There we go, the Almaz is already under severe fire. This torpedo cruiser. Shimatsuki sinks. Shame. However, whenever one of these ships sinks, we gain more naval budget, and when this war is over, we can design much better ships that outclass our current fleet. Go, torpedo boats hit. 2 torpedo boats hit. If the last engagement is small, we'll do it this episode. If not, this will be the end of the episode. If you've bothered to hang around and watch, please consider subscribing. I'm going to be making many more of these videos. At the start of the series I wasn't sure, but after getting some inspiration I think I will continue. So if you'd like to see where this series goes, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, any of that. You don't have to, of course, but I'd love if you did. Batum sinks. Anacrea has already lost all its guns, has 2 torpedoes left, and isn't bothering to close to torpedo range. Come on. Just sink it already. Flooding. More flooding. There goes the speed. It's only a matter of moments now. And don't worry, the crew will pick up survivors who'll be held until the end of the war. Not able to fire back, so I'm confused why it's not trying to close to torpedo range. It can't now, its engine's out, but it's weird it wasn't before. Anyway, that should be that. Yep. Anacrea sinks. 108k. Well done, Washiba. Washiba. Ooh, a battleship battle. I think we'll leave that for the start of the next episode, don't you? Anyway, it's been a pleasure. An absolute pleasure. I will see. I might actually do this in my own time, you know. It's probably not going to be that enjoyable, just 2 ships slowly circling each other. Anyway, I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.